number 3 live. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Jason McIntyre, JMac, BigLeague.com's got a couple of theories on the games tonight. Joy Taylor is joining me, who for the record, has the same birthday as my wife, January 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you were doing radio when I was first introduced to you, at least knew of you, in Miami during the LeBron Wade run, right?
Yes.
So that was your first job?
Yes, radio in Miami. Started at
that was your first job.
a.m. was my first job.
That's
and
a
then
good first
I
job.
think when I met you, it was at $7.90 the ticket because that was the ESPN affiliate there.
That's right.
Yep.
And so you've been through this whole dynasty thing. So tonight, Celtics-Sixers Game 4. I think Philly will play well, may steal a game here, but it's the Celtics series. Cleveland Raptors, baby dinosaurs go down hard, Game 4. But today is May 7th, so I have to start with this. Funerals are generally depressing, and funerals are morbid, and they are sad. And I don't love funerals. I've been to a few in my life. Today, though, we're having a funeral for something that needs to die. Not the Raptors. They're too cute to die. Baby dinosaurs should live forever. I am not anti-Raptors. No, we're going to put to death the month of January. Now, January's always been a very unique month. There's a lot of frauds in January. People join gyms in January, go for 4 or 5 times, and then never go again. You know what January's all about. New Year's resolutions. I'm going to be a new person this year. And by February, you're the same old jerk. And January is also the month that everybody in the NBA freaks out every year because, hey, everybody, LeBron's not playing well. This is the year LeBron doesn't make the playoffs. Okay, last 2 Januaries, LeBron shoots 24% on threes, his worst month. He averages 24 points a game in January last 2 years, his worst month. His plus-minus is minus 4.1 in January, his worst month. Rebounds, 7.8, his lowest total. Assists, 7.8, his lowest total. Yes, and the mostly young media, all sorts of bloggers, oh my God, I can't believe it, the world's changing. No, as I've said before, January, especially when you get to mid and late January, the All-Star game's coming up, usually in a sunny city. The trading deadline's coming up for a lot of veteran star players. It's just hard to keep focus in January because you know the season's all about post-All-Star. Once again, LeBron James is looking at a series sweep, is looking toward heading to the Eastern Conference Finals. It should be noted, folks, cue the music. This past January, here were the 3 teams that were great in January. The Raptors, the Pacers, and the Miami Heat were great in January. LeBron James was not, again, great in January. This is the month I was born. But even I have to admit, there's a lot of frauds that come from January. Gym memberships, New Year's resolutions. LeBron's not going to make the playoffs. For once and for all, we put January to bed. Let me shift to this. There's a lot of things throughout the course of a career, a life, that you think are really bad days, bad weekends, bad months. But I would argue they are essential for the growth process. Getting fired is not a terrible thing. Getting dumped, boyfriend, girlfriend, is not a terrible thing. In the moment, it is hurtful. In the moment, it is daunting and crushing. But then as you age, you realize it is your very essence. It is the most important thing. It is what creates the mettle and the drive and the aspiration for all of us. The white picket fed kids, they don't end up with the great jobs. The kids that got dumped and fired and told no end up in the corner office. That's what America's really about. There's a lot more people that didn't go to Harvard that did, and they're running most of these companies. Ben Simmons, you're saying to yourself, oh, that was an embarrassing weekend. I mean, Colin, he had 1 point in game 2. It was all over the internet. It was really funny. The legendary picture of Wilt Chamberlain holding up the card with 100 points. Everybody put it out there. Ben had 1. I got to admit it. Won the internet. Game 3, he took a very, very ill-advised shot. But I want to take you back to LeBron James' 8th year. He was in the finals against Dallas. He was devoured. In game 4, he had 8 points. In the fourth quarter of that finals against Dallas, where LeBron and Miami came in as heavy favorites, Joy Taylor was covering that series, LeBron shot 33% and averaged 3 points in the fourth. It was humiliating. People mocked LeBron. And since then, 3 titles, 2 MVPs, 6 finals. That never leaves you. That 1 point game and that meme on the internet will never leave Ben Simmons. And Aaron Rodgers dropping in the first round, it never leaves you. And getting fired and getting dumped. I speak from experience. I get up in the morning, think of it often, and it's why I work so hard. Let me double down on this Ben Simmons kid you don't think any's good. Let me remind you that Magic Johnson was once called tragic. That LeBron in his 8th year had an absolutely anemic and embarrassing and humiliating finals. Let me remind you that Russell Westbrook in this last series in his 10th year embarrassed himself and the organization in Oklahoma City. Ben Simmons is going to be the Eastern Conference's transformative player for the next 10 to 15 years. I'll double down on it. He has things you cannot teach. You can't teach 6'10" point guard ball handling skills like that. You can't teach his vision. You can't teach his strength. Some of it's just DNA. It's not weight room stuff. And for those who are saying he is bombing, let me remind you, he's 20 years old. Have you seen his numbers in these playoffs? I have. They're very exceptional. 16, 9, and 9, shooting 50% from the floor. Elite vision, elite defender. I don't know if he wins tonight. He may get swept by the Celtics. That's no great shame right now, the way they're playing and coaching. But let me remind you, this is the essence of what made Michael Jordan. It's why his Hall of Fame speech was petty. It's why LeBron James has never been better in year 15. The essence of success is failure. What builds the metal and the calluses is humiliation. We all had that moment on the school bus. I did. Kids make fun of your school picture, whether it's pimples, big ears, no hair, goofy haircut, bad clothes, not stacking up. It is the essence of success. My favorite quote in business of all time comes from Larry Ellison, who runs a company called Oracle. He's one of the world's richest men. He was being interviewed by 60 Minutes. And at one point, I think it was Ed Bradley. Ed Bradley says, your stepfather said, Larry, you would never amount to anything. And Larry Ellison said, yes, I had all the qualifications to be a billionaire. It is not failure. It is the essence of success. Let me double down on Ben Simmons. He's going to be a monster and a headache and a nightmare for the next 15 years. Because most of what he does, like LeBron, you can't teach. You can't teach Dwayne Wade's toughness. You can't teach LeBron's commitment to his craft. You can't teach Magic Johnson and Ben Simmons' vision. You can't. You can go to AAU tournaments the rest of your life. The kid was awful. The kid went passive. Forget passive-aggressive. He just went passive. The kid scored 1 point, didn't hit a field goal, and America made fun of him. He was mocked on Twitter. And that only assures one thing. I'm doubling down. He is, for the next 10 years in the East, the player. Now, we talked about earlier today, there are things that don't matter in the playoffs, and there are things that do matter in the playoffs. And of the 4 things to me that matter in the playoffs, and they're really heightened in the playoffs, superstar players, not just stars, superstar coaches, There are things that don't matter. Depth, triple doubles, the process, good, not great coaches, dynamic point guards that can't shoot. Westbrook, Derrick Rose, John Wall. The stuff that does absolutely matter. And it wins games. Superstar player, superstar coach, three-point shooting, and intelligence. You go look at the great dynasties of all time. From the Lakers, the Shaq, Kobe, there was 4 coaches on that roster. Remember the bad boy Pistons? Dumars was an executive. Isaiah Thomas was an executive. Lambeer and Mahorn were coaches. Chuck Daly's one of the all-time great coaches. Things matter, things don't matter. With that, we bring in Jason McIntyre, the founder, the guy who runs thebiglead.com. Speak for yourself, Monday through Friday. So when you look at the things, the 4 ingredients that we know that matter, great player, great coach, three-point shooting, intelligence, what does that say?
Boy, that's genius, Colin. I think we need to patent that and, put that out there. Except I have one question for you, Mr. Cowherd.
Yeah.
You look at that, and then you think about the Eastern Conference Finals. Cavs, Celtics. Should we go down your list real quick?
Okay.
Superstar, LeBron James, obviously.
So advantage Cavs.
Okay. Look at the rest of them. They're all advantage Celtics. Go down the list. Better coach? Brad Stevens, obviously. Three-point shooting? Celtics were second in the league this year. Intelligence? I would lean Celtics there. So you're taking the Celtics over the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
I think
based on your list.
I would say because LeBron dominates the ball so heavily and is as smart as any player in the league. And again, you've got guys who have been around a long time in this league. J.R. Smith has been around. Kyle Korver's been around.
wait. J.R. Smith and intelligence? You didn't just put them in the same sentence, did you?
Okay. But you know, when you look at J.R. through the years has taken some bad shots. But I would say Jason Tatum's a kid. Jaylen Brown's still a kid. Al Horford's been around the block. Brad Stevens is. But Boston, what's remarkable about Boston is it's a bunch of kids. It's Brad Stevens, Al Horford, and a bunch of babies.
Al Horford, I know our guy Chris Broussard loves Joel Embiid. Are you watching what Horford's doing to Joel Embiid? He's playing him off the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shutting down Embiid. Embiid's a turnover machine. I just quickly want to talk about the Celtics for a second. Colin, this is a team, right? We talked about the three-point shooting, the defense, the coaching. Last year, Kyrie Irving lit them up, shot 50% in the series from 3, averaged like 26 a game. Yeah. He's not there this year. We keep forgetting this is a Cavs team. Just a week ago, we were talking about how they barely escaped Indiana. Barely escaped Indiana. LeBron's tired. They go against the fraudulent Raptors, those choking dogs. We'll talk about that bet we made. But I don't see why all of a sudden the Cavs are going back to the finals automatically. Remember, 7 days ago, they were in trouble. We didn't know what Kevin Love's injury was like. And now all of a sudden we're just going to put them past the Celtics into the finals?
No, I think it'll be a great series. I think, here's the other thing. Is Boston a better three-point shooting team, more efficient than Cleveland? Yes. But LeBron and Korver and Love have their moments. I think it stacks up to be a really, really good. Now, I'll say this. We did this with Philadelphia. So Philadelphia beats Miami, and we're all like, man, Philadelphia, we got to remember.
Yeah.
Okay, Toronto was the number 1 seed in the East, and they're a fraud. The reality is the Eastern Conference is really 3 things. A superstar player, LeBron, a superstar coach, Brad Stevens, and it appears we have a kid who's going to be, for the next 12 years, kind of the prodigy of the conference, Ben Simmons, though he had a bad weekend. There's just a lot of junk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of – it's hard to judge anything in the East because it's a lot of stuff.
Again, the Celtics have now knocked out, they're on the verge of knocking out the second best player in the East, Ben Simmons, the third, Embiid, and the fourth, Giannis. They already knocked him out.
Yeah.
That's 3 of the top 4 players Brad Stevens has coached out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you have no concerns about LeBron. I mean, Colin, I look at this series, I'm telling you, if the Celtics do what the Pacers did, they can win this series. Remember, the Pacers, all they said was, we're going to stop Kyle Korver. We're going to shut down Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, LeBron. You can have 40, and we'll be in the game with 2 minutes left. Because that's what it was. Think
about this right now. So Boston, again, are we over enabling here the Celtic love? Just think about this. So, Joy, the first series was Boston-Milwaukee, right? And Boston couldn't win in Milwaukee.
They could not.
They could not win in Milwaukee. So then Boston takes on these kids, Philadelphia. And what was the score in that Philadelphia game? Okay, so Boston is a shot. Actually, Boston is a bad decision from being 0-4 on the road in the East. Let's not kid ourselves. If Philadelphia wins tonight, and I think they will, This idea that we love Boston. Boston couldn't win a game in Milwaukee, and they're a decision away from not being able to win in Philly yet. So I'm saying, if Philadelphia wins tonight, you're like, okay, so Boston's won four.
We're not going to be like that. Come on, one game?
No, I'm saying, again, listen, they'll lost 4 of 5 road games to garbage East teams.
Have home court advantage versus the Cavs.
Yeah, no, I do. But LeBron's shown a history of winning in Boston's not that big of a thing.
But to your larger point about earlier, how LeBron in January has been bad, it doesn't matter. I just want to say we need to do an edict here on FS1, the network. No more talking about the Raptors ever. I don't care if they win 25 games in a row. Next year in the regular season, it doesn't matter. Because we know when the chips are down in the fourth quarter, their coach is going to choke. Okay, Dwayne Casey has been awful in this series. All of a sudden, he doesn't know how to guard Kevin Love. His star, DeMar DeRozan, we heard all about him. DeMar DeRozan can shoot threes now, Colin. You know that, right? He's 0 for 9 on threes in the series. He's got 54 points on 55 shots. This is a guy who supposedly is great. The Raptors, I believe they're the biggest frauds in the Eastern Conference. And I'm sick of even thinking about these guys.
I don't even think it's that. I think, yeah, I mean, they're sort of the NBA's frauds. Like, when you look at the top, listen, Boston isn't a fraud because Boston's going to beat Philadelphia, and we know they're missing stars. If LeBron doesn't beat Boston or the Warriors, they're not frauds. They have limited players. Houston has been terrific. Utah's a real team, and they're dusting them. Golden State's great. And if you lose to Golden State like a San Antonio did, you're not a fraud. This happens in sports. There are teams that are fundamentally not built for the playoffs. The Phoenix Suns, when they had Mike D'Antoni and Steve Nash, were unbelievable in the regular season, but they had no interior defense. And again, the thing the playoffs is about, you play the same team. It's almost like dating. Like if you go, you know those 10-minute dates they do when you're single and you do those, they used to have those things where you'd go
speed dating.
Speed dating. Okay. You can't really, somebody's there. Somebody can blow you away for 10 minutes. You're like, he is so funny and she is so. But when you go on like 7 dates, you're like, oh, he's a pig. He's got bad manners. His breath smells like hamsters, whatever. 7 dates, Joy, 7 dates before you were married, McIntyre. You figure out what people are 7, 8 dates, right?
You got to have time to catch up on the tendencies.
Okay, the tendencies. The problem with Toronto is with their depth, they move into town. And you play the night before. And they play 9 guys. Yeah. And it's like they just overwhelm you because their second team's about as good as their first team. But when I get to play Toronto 5 times, and it's like they don't have a second pitch. I shut down DeRozan. They don't have a second guy.
What's going to happen when the Rockets speed date against my Warriors? Is this going to be a 5-game series and just a blowout, and we're going to be saying the same stuff about the Rockets that we just are saying about the Raptors? I believe that's where this is headed, Colin. I know I've been wrong about the Rockets all season. I bashed them. I said no Chris Paul and James Harden. That's not going to work. But when you look at this team against the Jazz, they blew them out twice this weekend, which was a surprise, right? I thought Utah would win 1. But I just look at this Warriors team and I think they're going to annihilate Houston. That's what it's shaping up to be for me. I feel like Houston has some Toronto speed dating fraudulent tendencies.
Well, ask yourself this. Do you believe, and I can ask both you guys this, let's talk dynasties for a second. Okay, Magic, Showtime Lakers was a dynasty. The Bulls were a dynasty. Do you classify the Spurs as a dynasty?
Yeah. 15 years, right?
Okay. Golden State's a dynasty. So do you believe a good Houston team is going to beat a dynasty? And by the way, this is a dynasty. Curry, KD, Clay, and Draymond are in their prime.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's real simple. Once Jordan got into his prime with Pippen and Phil and it's like, nobody's beating that team. You go look at the history of the NBA. The only person to beat the Lakers dynasty was a near dynasty. And by the way, Jordan couldn't beat the Pistons when they were in their prime. He couldn't beat the Celtics when they were in their prime. Jordan only beat those teams when they got old and were out of their prime. It's not just that Golden State's great. Everybody's like 27. Like they're this thing. If they don't have injuries or egos, we're just starting. By the way, you were in Miami, Joy.
Right.
Miami was old by the end. Like they were done. Ray was old. Battier was old. Dwayne Wade was old. Haslam's still old. Mike Miller was old. They were old players.
And when you look at these Rockets, as comparing them to the Raptors again, is like social media loves these Rockets.
Yes.
And the NBA media is all over the Rockets. They love the Raptors. They want to talk about anybody except the dynasty. They want to, denigrate LeBron a little bit. I'm telling you, Houston's in for some trouble. They have home court advantage. I don't think it's going to matter.
Houston is the quietest arena in the NBA that hosts a great team.
Huh.
I mean, honestly, is it, Greg, you're from there. Is it the traffic pattern? Do people show up late? I can't hear you. Turn his mic on. I can't. Houston is literally the quietest. It's no home court advantage.
Yeah, it's right downtown. So no one can get there because they're sitting in traffic for 2 hours.
Okay. It's incredible. It has Houston's great. Yeah. But I watched Houston play in Utah. They were as good in Utah as they were at home. Boston's clearly a better team at home. Philadelphia is absolutely a better team at home. The Warriors are a better team at home. Houston, coin flip, same team, both places.
Warriors in 5.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. What are you laughing, Joy?
No, I think it's
Rockets
right.
Are winning?
I know. I agree with you.
Okay, that's good to hear.
5 things business owners can count on from LegalZoom. Number 1, reliability. Over 2 million people have used LegalZoom to start their business. LLCs, S-corps, nonprofits, they get started the right way with LegalZoom. Number 2 is experience. They've been helping all types of business owners for over 15 years. Number 3 is helpful support. They have the right people standing by, all based in the United States. Number 4 is legal advice. They are not a law firm, but have a network of independent attorneys in all 50 states. And number 5 is no surprises. Complete transparency, upfront pricing, customer reviews. LegalZoom.com. Check it out today. LegalZoom.com, code Colin. It's where your life meets legal. Make life better for you, your family, your assets, and your business. LegalZoom.com.
The planet is revealing itself. Clouds, lightning storms, it's alive.
One Strange Rock, tonight at 10 on National Geographic.
Wandering through secret hills and telling stories round the grill. From lazing out on peaceful docks to raging to a band that rocks. You never know just where in life Corona cans might take you now. Food truck food.